Hi stamping friends, it's Sherry Parker coming to you live on Wednesday, July 30th. It's been a few weeks since I've been live. My husband and I went to Europe, England and France, and had a wonderful trip. Just got back late Monday night and we're just trying to get readjusted and everything. I'm still jet lagging a little bit and had a cold at the end there, so if I sound a little nasally, that's why. But I'm really excited to be here with you tonight. Have a fun card to show you, but also wanted just to give you an update on the July Eradicate Loneliness Challenge. I think we had over 110, maybe 15 people join, and everyone committed to sending 15 cards during the month of July. We have one more day left during the month. And I know some of you actually did more than that. Maybe not everyone was able to do 15, but I am just so excited about the number of cards sent out just to spread kindness. And I thank you if you participated. I will be tomorrow drawing the winners for, we had, there were just a couple little incentives there. So I will be drawing for the winners, and I'll post it in my Facebook group for everyone who was part of that. So thank you again. It was just really a fun way to spread kindness. So thank you, Sheila. I'm so happy to be back. It's always great to be back, but also like tons of laundry to do, get caught up at work and all this stuff. But we had such a great time. My favorite part, we were in the Cotswolds, in England and London. The Cotswolds was definitely a highlight if you've ever heard of that. It's like the English countryside. And then we went over to France. We saw Normandy Beach. And in addition to Paris, we went to Giverny, where Monet lived, and his gardens where he painted. So that was on my bucket list for most of my life. So it was really exciting to go there. So thank you. And I appreciate your patience. I wasn't live last week because I was out of town. And I did also want to mention that next week I'll be coming live a little early, probably on Monday. I'm having some foot surgery on Tuesday the 5th. So it's going to be a little bit wonky. I'm going to have some guest presenters, and I'm going to do what I can, but I'm not going to be able to go up and down the stairs where my stamp room is. So we're just going to have to wing it and see how things go. It's going to be hard because I love coming down to my craft room and stamping, but I'll be limited on what I can do. So we'll see. Hopefully I'll be more mobile than I think I'm gonna be. But anyway, so bear with me. It'll be a few weeks of really interesting, we'll see. But anyway, I'm gonna turn my camera over and we'll get started on tonight's projects. All right, one last plug for the Let's Eradicate Loneliness Challenge. Again, just one more day, super fun, and love that everyone has been participating and sending cards to people really for no reason. In fact, when I was in France, I was in Giverny, and I found these fabulous postcards made out of pressed flowers, and I thought these would make really cute cards. Look how cute that is. So I'm going to continue this even throughout the summer, just because I think it's so much fun just to say hi to people, give them just, a reason to be happy for the day. So anyway, thanks again for participating. And even if you didn't, you can send a card for no reason anytime, of course. All right, so tonight I'm going to make this, and I don't know that it's officially called a window pane card, but that's the technique here where you can kind of see the different lines. And I'm going to show you how to do this. It's really simple to do and a really cute and easy card to make. So tonight's really the supplies you'll need is a card base, of course. So I've got a white card base. I've got a piece of cardstock here that measures 3 inches by 5 inches. Hi, Marianne, thank you. I'm happy to be home as well. So that's what we'll be using, the window pane technique. And then I picked out a piece of Designer Series paper. This is from the Florals in Bloom Designer Series paper. And I've just got, a little piece here that's 4 by 4 and then 1 by 4. It's the same sheet of paper, just opposite sides of the paper. and then some ribbon. So that will really pretty much be what we'll need tonight. And we'll get started. So for this technique, you're going to essentially make score lines, and you can use really any interval that you want. I'm using 1 inch like a grid, so I'm going to score using my stylus tool on the bigger end, and every 1 inch I'm going to put a score line. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that very well. And then I'll turn it to the other side and I'll do the same thing. So it's real easy to, to use 1 inch. You could use really any increment that you wanted, but 1 inch is certainly super simple to do. So that's what I've done here. And so I'm going to use this piece of paper here, and I'm going to stamp and create kind of this window pane effect. And tonight I'm going to be using the Textured Notes bundle. This is an online exclusive, a really nice stamp set and die cut, which these rectangular dies are you can use these in so many different ways. You see the pattern on the edges, and they're all slightly different. So really cool, interesting look you can get with those die cuts. So those are the supplies for tonight. I'm going to be using just a few of the stamps. So I've got more of a flower image and then a leaf image and then a greeting, and that's really it. So very simple in terms of supplies. And I'm going to start with my leaf, and I'm going to use a few different colors. I've got Old Olive. You might be familiar with that. I'm going to put a piece of scrap paper behind this. And I'm going to stamp my leaf, and then again, stamp it off. So you've got 2 different colors, textures. I'll clean that off. And then next I'm going to take the flower looking stamp, and I've inked that up in our Blackberry Bliss, and I will just do the same thing there. So it's very simple, just stamping once and then stamping again. And then in a different green, the garden green, I'll do the same thing with the leaf, and then I'll put another leaf there. And then final stamping with that flower. I need to kind of clean that one off, and using Misty Moonlight, which is a real pretty blue, we will stamp some blue. Okay, so each time you do this, it can look slightly different. But what you can see here is that where I've scored, it's left this nice little window pane effect, and it really just adds a different dimension to your stamping projects. So that is really all that I'm going to be doing for the background of that card. And here's the card that we're making. So I'll put that here, sorry, I usually do that. But so I've created the background, and then next really for the base of the card, I've got the white cardstock, and then I have my designer series paper, and I'm simply going to adhere. And you could, with this one, it has a pattern, but you could go horizontally or vertically. So the one side I'll put down, and then for the pattern side, I'll put this as the smaller strip. And the reason I'm doing that is because this is a pattern, that won't really compete too much with the pattern that I've stamped there, okay? So one last little touch I'm gonna do on the edges here, I'm going to use a little sponge dauber and just go across each of the sides using the Blackberry Bliss ink. And I've always really loved this technique just because it gives a little dimension. And, yes, you could use cardstock to frame your stamped image, but certainly this is a really simple way to do. All right, so next what we'll do, really almost the last touch, is I'm going to use this beautiful mesh gold ribbon, which is new. I really like this because I love using metallic. And I'm going to just tie a little knot here, and then we'll adhere this to the front of our card. So as usual, anyone who comments on or shares the videos that I make each week, you're eligible to win the projects that I make every week. So just want to put that little plug in there. Hopefully you're enjoying this video and you can comment on or share it. So I put a Stampin' Dimensional on all 4 corners, and now I'm going to adhere this to the front of the card. So the last touch to this card, well, maybe second to last, is the greeting. And I mentioned these beautiful rectangle dies, and I've gone ahead and in the Blackberry Bliss, I cut out the rectangle, and you can see here that, you know, this is how it comes out. Now, in my sample, you'll see it's slightly smaller. So a real simple trick that I wanted to show you is something really easy that you can do is if you have something that maybe doesn't need this whole rectangle, you can actually make it a little bit smaller. And what I'm gonna do is just simply place this a little bit down on my rectangle. Now with a pattern, you're gonna wanna make sure that you line it up, and you can feel on this one like when it actually hits the grooves. And then what we'll do next is, as I drop it, we'll put it on our die cut machine like that, and then run it through. And so what we're essentially doing is making it smaller. So, sorry about all the bouncing, but you see what happens is you get a nice smaller shape with that actual pattern around it. So it's a really cool trick to try, certainly easy to do, and I think you'll like how it turns out. So the stamp that I'm going to use for this particular greeting is this smaller thank you. So I'm going to emboss it with gold. And if you've embossed before, you might know it's helpful to use the embossing buddy. It helps take the static out of the paper so that the powder doesn't stick where you don't want it to. So I'm going to stamp this using my Versamark ink pad. And it'll be very hard to see probably because it's clear. If you can really see that or not, maybe you can. And then I'll simply sprinkle some gold powder and it'll stick. If you've ever embossed before, it's so much fun because it looks very dull right now. But once you use the heat embossing tool and heat that, it turns out nice and metallic. So I think that's a really beautiful technique, and it just adds a little bit of gold, coordinates with the ribbon, and we'll add a gold embellishment and it'll look really nice. So that is how we achieved the gold rectangled stamped embellishment there. So doesn't that look nice? And then as a final way to finish up the card, I'm going to use these beautiful druzy dots. I think they're so, so pretty and rich. And we'll just put a few of those on the card like that, and you can see how it looks, you know, really nice. Thanks, Cheryl. Thanks, Lisa. All right, so that is the card. And I wanted to show you a couple different variations. So again, using the same colors, supplies, and everything. Here's one I made, and I used more of a square for my window pane and not the long version. And then here you can see where I use the longer rectangle cut out versus making it a little bit shorter. So, you know, I don't know which one do you like? Do you like the bigger one or the smaller? I like the smaller one, but, and then I did a version here where I didn't add a greeting, and instead I used the blending brushes and just kind of made a nice, pretty, you know, just a real soft pastel, purple and green edge there. So that was another version of that. And then I did a version with the same, basically the same layout as this one, but using different colors. And here's a like more of a holiday version. So you can see kind of all the different combinations and things that you can do. So typically when I finish a video, I will draw for the winners of last week's projects, but last week I made, or last 2 weeks ago, I guess, I made these envelopes here, which really isn't, you know, much to receive. So I thought what I would do this time is if you comment on or share this week, then next week I'll draw for, look at actually the envelope with the card that coordinates with it. So hopefully you like that. And, you know, real easy to win. Your name is automatically entered if you comment on or share. So that is really all I've got for tonight. Thank you for your patience, being out of town and everything. I'm a little bit behind on everything, so I do appreciate you joining me tonight. So have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you so much. I will keep you updated on everything when I'm going to be going live based on how I'm moving around and everything. So thanks again. Have a wonderful night. Goodbye.